Konnichiwa. Thank you everybody for joining me for my stream. This obviously is not a gaming stream or a gaming video. This is a tribute to Scott Hall. Some of you may know him as Razor Ramon. One of his wrestling ring names. He was a professional wrestler. He was born on October the 20th, 1958, and he passed away yesterday. Just wanted to do this special tribute to Scott because, and you know, I'm really trying my best to hold it together, guys. If I lose it at any point, just please be patient with me. When I was little, Scott Hall was my favorite wrestler. He competed in the WWE. It was WWF back in the 90s when Scott Hall was in the organization. Like I said, he was one of my favorite wrestlers back then, and I really got into his Razor Ramon gimmick. It was a gimmick based on, if anybody has ever seen that movie Scarface, Al Pacino's character in Scarface actually inspired that character, and I really got into it. I'm not gonna lie, when I was little, I used to stand in front of the mirror in the bathroom with a toothpick in my mouth with my hair slicked back and try to talk like Razor Ramon with the Cuban accent. Yeah, I kept myself entertained with that one. So, yeah, many great memories of Scott Hall during his Razor Ramon days. And then he went over to WCW to form the stable, the NWO, or the New World Order, with Kevin Nash. They were the original members of that organization. And the NWO is today wrestling stables ever. And, you know, for 2 years, they were really interesting to watch. You know, the way they played their characters off was incredibly convincing. And, you know, granted, I was a child at the time, but at one point, I was really believing these guys were trying to invade World Championship Wrestling and take them over. I mean, they were so convincing with what they did. So, you know, hats off to them for, you know, playing their roles and acting and delivering such convincing acting. Yeah, so Scott Hall is mostly known for those two things, for his Razor Ramon gimmick and for his time in the NWO. You know, Scott Hall, to me, is an extremely tragic tale because the poor man had post-traumatic stress disorder, a condition that I'm extremely familiar with. He had it because a long time ago, when he was very young, he was only in his mid-20s when this happened, he, in self-defense, shot a man during a fight, and the man died. Of course, Scott was never, you know, arrested or not charged or convicted with anything, you know, because it was a self-defense type of thing, but understandably so, you know, he still took a life, and it was a very traumatic thing for Scott, and he just never got over it. And it led to him having some severe issues with alcohol abuse, which is something that runs in his family, unfortunately. That really strikes a chord with me because one of my college degrees is in substance abuse treatment. So I interned at a homeless shelter where I worked with a lot of people with substance abuse and alcohol abuse issues. I even taught classes on the matter. So, you know, I've seen people recover, I've seen people not recover. If I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, I've seen more people not recover successfully versus those who have. But Scott Hall was an exception to the rule. He actually did recover from his alcoholism and, you know, had been relatively clean for quite some time. You know, it almost killed him. It did a lot of damage to his body. I'm not going to tell you that he wasn't knocking on death's door a few times, but, you know, overall, you know, when it was all said and done, he got it under control. He hooked up with a good friend of his. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Diamond Dallas Page. You might know him. If you don't know him through wrestling, then you might know him through his DDP yoga program, which is an awesome program. I want to throw it out there. DDP hooked up with Scott Hall and offered to help him and got him into his yoga program, got a fundraiser going for him to get some medical procedures done that he was needing. He needed a hip replacement and some dental work and things to that effect. Things that, just years and years of abuse on his body from wrestling and alcohol abuse had caused. And, Scott overcame all that and, was on the right track. And then, recently he had hip replacement surgery and he took a spill, a really nasty fall, from the reports I've read from pretty accurate sources. And he suffered multiple heart attacks from a blood clot that had worked its way loose through as a result of his surgery. He took a fall, got surgery. I'm pretty sure this is how it went down. Took a fall, got surgery to repair his hip. The blood clot came into the picture and got into his cardiovascular system, and I do know for 100% fact it was the blood clot getting into his cardio system, and it took him. He was on life support for a spell, and then eventually they didn't see any real hope of a recovery at this point, and he was taken off of life support. Obviously rest in peace, Scott. I never met Scott Hall. I never knew the guy. I just know that he was very entertaining to watch. He was an excellent wrestler. He was a big guy too, and it's funny because looking at Scott Hall when I was a child, he was just an entertaining wrestler. He was funny. I got a kick out of his Cuban accent impersonation attempt. The way he presented himself, he was very entertaining for me. But as I got older, I actually learned how to do professional wrestling. I actually learned the technique and the training involved and all that. So as an adult, as a young man, and even to this day, I can watch his matches, and I can see it on a different perspective now because I'm a grown up and I've actually learned how to wrestle professionally. And just watching what he does is very impressive. He is such a big guy. He was 6'5", about 250, 240, something like that. And very heavy muscles, but he could move really good. He was very light on his feet for a man his size, very strong naturally, and had wonderful technique. He could do things on the mat. He could do power moves. He was very innovative with his offense and his counterattacks and things like that. He was a wonderful professional wrestler. A lot of people look at professional wrestling and kind of laugh because it's quote unquote fake. And this is the thing, guys. Of course, wrestling is fake. You don't have two guys out there trying to beat each other up. They know who's going to win in most cases before they even go to the ring, okay? Anybody over the age of 11 with eyes in their head can look at what they're doing out there and tell it's not real, all right? But professional wrestling by no means is an easy thing. It's a craft. It's an art. It's very similar to dancing, as in you have to help lift each other to do these big fancy moves without killing one another. And when these moves are not done correctly, people can get severely hurt and even die. There have been fatalities in the ring due to, incorrectly executed moves or a lack of training or things like that. But Scott Hall, from what I know, is a very safe person to work with, especially when he was on his A game. He put on very entertaining matches. I never saw a Scott Hall match where I was like, oh, God. You know what I mean? So he, through a fan's perspective, was always very fun to watch. And Scott Hall, I never met the guy, and I completely hate to talk about a person I've never met, okay? And, I don't mean any offense to anybody, but, I have heard that Scott Hall could be difficult to deal with. I heard he, could be pretty rough around the edges, maybe a bit too honest, and how do I say this and make sense? There's a difference between being honest and being mean, so he could cross the boundary into mean, but at the end of the day, Scott Hall, I do know for a fact, cared about his friends and his family, and he would stand up for the people that he cared about in a hot second. Now, I know that for a fact because there was an event a long time ago where a guy, I don't remember his name, but I saw the footage. He made a very distasteful joke about the death of Owen Hart. I don't know if you guys don't know Owen Hart. He passed away in 1999, in May of 1999, from a very tragic fall. He was doing a stunt where he was lowered from the rafters on a harness cable, and the harness vest accidentally came loose when he was way up in the air, way up in the air, and he fell many feet, and his chest hit the turnbuckle, and he, not long after that, he was gone. He passed away from internal injuries, internal bleeding as a result. A guy made a very distasteful joke at some event regarding Owen Hart's death, and I'm going to tell you what, Scott Hall came unhinged, and he stood up for his deceased friend. And, you know, I don't blame him. You know, some jokes are just inappropriate, some jokes are just mean, and I'm sorry, but mocking an innocent man's death is just, that is very ignorant. So, and Scott Hall, you know, he put his foot down and said, no, I don't think so, and he stood up for Owen's honor, you know. So I don't have to have met Scott Hall to know that his heart was in the right place, and he was a very strong individual. I don't know if I could have overcome the things he did. You know, I did not have his life's experiences. You know, I didn't have his issues. So I don't know if I could have been strong enough to do it, but I do know that he was strong enough to overcome his demons, and, you know, he was on the right track to getting his life, you know, where it needed to be. And then, unfortunately, you know, that fall took place, and then, well, the rest is history, and that's very sad. It deeply saddens me, you know, on many levels, to know that happened. And the guy was only, you know, this is not, excuse me, medieval times, guys. You know, we're in 2022. You know, a person dying at age 63 is like, what the hell? You know, so it really leaves me with a very bad taste in my mouth to ever hear of anybody dying in their 60s, let alone their early 60s. It's ridiculous. You know, and again, it's especially sad when it's a man who tried so hard and was successful in overcoming so much. So, you know, to all fans of Scott Hall, you know, my heart's with you. I feel your pain. You know, I'm very sorry for the loss to Scott's family. You know, again, I never met him, but I'm sorry, you know, about all this whole situation and how it went down. Sorry that the man had so many issues, you know. You know, to Scott, like I said, man, you know, I never met you, but, you know, your heart seemed to be in the right place overall, and I appreciate the things you gave us fans. I appreciate, you know, I appreciate the example that you set with being able to overcome ungodly adversity. I appreciate your ring work, your character development, and your very convincing acting that even though I was a child, you had me thinking you were really out there to take over WCW. So you were one heck of an actor. And I just want to let you know that I'm sorry that you're no longer with us. It's tragic. It's not right. Rest in peace. Godspeed. You know, I hope that, you know, Kami, the Lord in heaven, is taking care of you, and, you know, over. And again, that will pretty much be it. You know, if you have any tributes or anything you want to say about Scott Hall, you know, please feel free to comment on the video. Please keep it polite and, you know, clean. And that will be it. This is my tribute to Scott Hall. Again, everybody, thank you very much for joining me, and you all have a great night. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Oyasu minasai. Take care.